Hi guys, welcome back to Red Flag Radio F1 YouTube channel. 14 races down and Formula 1 2025 season has been pure chaos, drama and brilliance all rolled into just one season. From McLaren's unstoppable rise with Piastri and Norris to heroic drives through the field by Hülkenberg and Albon, and now as we hit the mid-season break, it's time to hand out the grades that every driver has earned so far. Buckle up because some of these ratings are going to surprise you and a few might just start an argument in the comments. So, we have to start with the drivers who are always in spotlight because for the team they are driving. We have to start with Charles Leclerc, man. What are your views? I am very excited to hear what are your thoughts on that.
Honestly, I feel like Leclerc has done a good enough job this season. He's had a couple of podiums as well, and he generally qualified better than Hamilton. He generally scored more points than Hamilton as well. And it is also not just about scoring points, He consistently, apart from Great Britain, he was consistently finishing ahead of Lewis. And as a matter of fact, apart from Great Britain, I think he did finish ahead of Lewis Hamilton in every single Sunday Grand Prix, excluding the sprint, of course, because Lewis won sprint in China. And Britain, of course, Leclerc was nowhere to be seen because of his setup conditions. But yeah, so he did very well, in my opinion. He's been consistent in a car that is arguably not very good. I mean, it has pace. They are P2 technically in the constructors, but still not convinced that the car is very comfortable. And to that point, I also want to give a quick shout out to the fact that we give a lot of shit to Verstappen and Red Bull for creating a car that's just specifically tailored for Verstappen. But if you think about it, Leclerc is no different. So far, he has gobbled up 4 teammates. At least 3 in the recent history, which is Sainz, Vettel and now Hamilton. The car is increasingly getting more Leclerc centric, so let's also give him shit for that going forward and not completely blame the other driver. But getting back to the matter at hand, I think he has been doing well. He has consistently brought in a lot of points, so for me Leclerc is a very solid 8 on 10.
Oh, that's good. I think we are starting bang on there. For me, see, Charles Leclerc has been a driver who is getting those results for Ferrari. I think he got like 5 podiums, and not to forget his pole position in Hungary. That deserves all the spotlight, man. With Ferrari when no one expected. And if we have to go back to China, remember that disqualification? That was one thing which also probably where Ferrari lost some crucial points. But yeah, he also got P2 in Monaco, which was, I think, his best result. And in all honesty, he should have won the Hungarian Grand Prix. That's just my take. But so far, I think he has been doing really well. I think he got top 8 in all races except Silverstone and obviously China as well because of that disqualification. And in head-to-head as well, he's doing really well against Hamilton. Like, he has a 11-3 against Hamilton in qualifying and 9-3 in race. So that just sums up how well he's doing. But for me, I think I will give him an 8.5 simply because of his consistency. It's very close to your rating as well, but I think 8.5 is just right. If he would have won in Hungary, probably it would have been a 9 or 9.5 for me. And obviously, I can't ignore the fact that he was not that great in Silverstone. That was just one race, probably he can forget, and that's a pass for every driver as well. But I think 8.5 is just right, considering how well that season is going for him. But he's there with Hamilton, he's doing better against Hamilton, so that's the reason why I will still give him an 8.5 or very close to 9.
Interesting.
But I will still say 8.5.
I think I stick to 8 because, like I said, of course he was horrible in Britain, but other than that, like I said, the car is developed around Leclerc, so with that in mind, he should be doing better. And we've seen Sainz taking over the strategy when he saw an opportunity and win races as well. A great example is Singapore, where he was giving Lando DRS on purpose so that the Mercedes can't catch him, because if the Mercedes of Russell and Hamilton caught him, it was a sure shot 1-2 for Mercedes last year. So That is a great example, and that's my point, right? If the car is designed around you because you're the poster boy for Ferrari, why don't you take more control over the strategy and say outright, no, I'm not going to do this. I think this is a bad call. You change your strategy. You put me on a different strategy. So he's not being, dominating enough, given that the car is for him to win. So that being said, that's where the half point goes away for me.
Yeah, but I think there's always that part where you have to depend on your team, because you see the team has all the data, all the numbers, even if it's Ferrari. I completely get that part, and he knows how that strategy works with Ferrari. But in some cases, you have to trust the team as well. Yes, you can take some leadership calls as well, but again, what Charles Leclerc had to do was to give as many good results as possible from his side and drive well, which apparently he is doing, according to me. Yes, maybe car is according to him, or maybe there's some influence from Carlos Sainz as well in that car, because he was also driving really well last season. But in all honesty, I think 5 podiums is not a bad result for Ferrari, considering how dominant McLaren is. So that's the reason why I will still rate him at least 8.5, if not 9. But that's just my opinion. That's how I see it.
Fine, then let's move on to Lewis, because Leclerc we're at least in the same neighborhood. I doubt we're going to be in the same neighborhood with Lewis, because he has won the sprint. He did well in Silverstone as well. 4th is not bad considering, again, Ferrari. And again, if he had not pitted, perhaps he would have battled Hülkenberg for the podium and gotten that podium in Great Britain. And that's just out of the recent races. Other than that, Hungary was not special for him, but he, despite being deeply uncomfortable in the car and feeling like either he or the car are shit, and honestly getting the cold shoulder from Ferrari, because based on the radio calls we've witnessed this year, Ferrari is just not treating him like a 7-time world champion. So taking all of that into stock, I think, given that Lewis has had so many points finishes as well, and he's consistently brought in points as well, I think as a very average, I think I give him an 8 as well. Because again, the point is, the car is Leclerc centric. You cannot discount that. So when the car is built around your teammate, the team is not giving you too much, in the way of communication. The communication is poor from your team. Increasingly, you cannot rely on the strategies that they put you on, because God knows what happens. Given that there are so many things actively holding him back, he's still bringing in points almost every race. That earns him an 8 out of 10 easily, in my opinion.
Interesting. I think we will have some contrasting opinions here. Well, if we are talking about Hamilton, there are some moments where I have to think about that probably should have gone his way as well. Yes, we can talk about his sprint pole and win in China. That was, I think, the highlight for Lewis Hamilton as well, and probably that ignited the fire in every single Ferrari fan, that probably this season could be that season where we will see them consistently fighting with McLaren and fighting at top, which is something that didn't happen. Could be many reasons. Could be Ferrari's car, could be McLaren's dominance, could be drivers not being comfortable, could be many reasons. But in all honesty, your teammate is a true reflection. As much as I want to maybe agree to that part, that maybe car is towards Charles Leclerc's side, but I still see it as a true reflection that how well you are performing against your teammate. And by the time you gain that confidence and start performing better, which in all honesty is not happening with Hamilton, because he's going slightly backwards. If there's that recency bias as well, he's not doing that well. And talking about the qualifying also, he's losing that grip, and I think he made it like 10 qualifying 3 sessions only. So that's not a good stat, and the worst part is 0 podiums. That is a very bad stat to have as a Ferrari driver, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the car is. And I think he's like now 2nd or 3rd driver who is yet to score a podium with the amount of races he has driven for Ferrari. So That's not a good start to have as a 7-time world champion. So he's sixth in standings. He's just behind Leclerc. Yes, that part is obviously there, but I think he could have done better in some cases as well. Miami was also one race where he was just fighting with Ferrari, and the strategy, even if the strategy favored him, the result didn't favor him. So there
But
are some
to
moments
be
that I
fair,
can.
the Miami sprint, he was on the podium. He was third.
Yeah,
And Leclerc
yeah,
did not even start that race. So, to be
yeah.
fair,
I actually missed the part of Charles Leclerc where he did crash in
exactly.
Miami. I had that point, and that was also one reason why I gave him an 8.5 and not 9. But I think those two cases where Leclerc didn't perform, those were just maybe rain, and that's the reason why he didn't get a perfect score, or let alone 9. But for Hamilton, I felt like there were more moments where he was not that good. And that's the reason why I will say it's a 7.5. It's not 7 or more below 7. I think 7.5 is still decent, but the standard Lewis Hamilton has set for him, probably that's one reason why I'm still saying that it's just a 7.5 and not even 8. That's the standard he has set up. And
Fair
yeah,
enough, but I think that's just it, right? While I mean, these are two sides of the same coin. On one hand, you're a 7-time world champion in a Ferrari, which does have the pace to get podiums, but you're not getting them. So you're right, that does rob him of some points. But on the other hand, on this other side of the coin, the car, you cannot discount the fact that the car is leaning towards your teammate, even though it's equal machinery. If you're not comfortable in that equal machinery, it's not equitable machinery. That's the problem. It is equal, it's not equitable. Because if I prefer, let's say we're two teammates in a Grand Prix team, and if I prefer an oversteery car and you prefer the polar opposite, which is an understeery car, it is going to give us both headaches if the car is leaning towards the other way, right? So, and also, by the way, in the rain, Lewis did prove who he was. Because in Spa as well, he cut through the field like a speeding bullet, man. You cannot discount this thing. And I feel like rain is where you show some semblance of talent, because the F1 car being so grippy and you being able to corner at 150 miles an hour and stuff like that, all of that goes away up to a large extent. Rainy races are outlier situations. You do not train for rainy races often. So that's where the skill truly shows, and that's why I think a hard solid 8 is well deserved. And to that point, that's why I add a 0.5 against yours to Lewis, but I take away a 0.5 against yours for Leclerc, because that half point, in my opinion, is exactly where the difference lies. I want to cut Lewis some slack, and I want to be a little more critical of Leclerc, because he should be doing better given that it's his machinery. He's been there since day one. He should be doing better.
It's I'll say different driver personalities and how they deal with it. But if we talk about Justin, then probably I hope I will see a 9 or 9.5 for Lance Stroll when we will talk about this.
You may be surprised by my rating given how much I love him.
I'm excited to hear, but I think it's the best time to move on to the other drivers who are doing really well in my opinion. And probably we touched a little base on about George Russell, and I would love to hear your thoughts because I know you love him as well. So what are your thoughts?
As direct contenders to Ferrari and Mercedes are direct competitors this season, right? So I think the fact that they are also bringing in consistent points, and Russell has 6 podiums now to Charles 5, that speaks volumes. But at the same time, they're third in WCC, not second. So this disparity is very interesting to me, because here's the thing. 6 podiums should earn him a higher rating than Leclerc, right? Objectively, I should give him more than 8. But I will give him not 8. I think I have it in my notes. Oh, okay. Do you want to guess how much lower he is than Leclerc?
I'm just surprised that he's lower than Leclerc, to be honest.
Oh, fuck yes, he's lower than Leclerc. Because does nothing get all his podiums we have seen across the internet, everyone shares our opinion that does nothing get podiums. The two arguments you can make are for Hungary and Canada. Canada, he won, but that's because the McLarens were battling and Lando crashed and he did not win, and then that costed Oscar a lot of time. So,
but he was ahead of them even before that crash. He
Arey,
qualified P1.
he was ahead of that. If the McLarens had a clean battle, one of them would have caught up to Russell. One of them would have been first, and then he would have been second place. So I absolutely do not give him credit for that. He is all. You know what? I give him. Intelligence is a racing craft. It's a part of your racecraft. So being an opportunist, I give you credit for that, Mr. Russell. But nah. And Hungary also. If Leclerc's tire strategy was better, he would not have lost that third place, man. So I don't know. This entire season is just very icky for me. You know, I don't. It's never been a comfortable or a decisive podium for him, in my opinion. That he's just charging through and he's cutting through everyone and he's winning. The way, you know, Max won in Suzuka fair and square. Like, there was no chance anyone was gonna touch him. But all Russell's podiums are always a matter of circumstance. If you
But
were
you
to
have
fight
to be
me,
there. He created that situation in qualifying as
if you were to
well.
fight me in the court of law, all your evidence would get thrown away as circumstantial evidence. That's my big point. So therefore,
I feel there's some biasness, in all honesty, man. That's how I see it. That's my take.
nah. Therefore, I give him a 7 on 10. Nothing lower than 7 on 10 because he does spot opportunities. I do credit him for that.
But you have to be there. That's the case when you have McLarens fighting for that P1, P2. You have to be there. That's the case.
Have the car to be there.
But Mercedes is not the fastest team by any means. That's the reason why they are third.
You have the car to be second or third. That's my point. You have the car to fight for podiums. So does Ferrari, and that's why Leclerc has 5 podiums.
But
he
that's
was also there. But you see, Leclerc's podiums come so stressfully. He battles for them. Russell,
but he creates that situation for. Okay, I'll take your rating. Now, let me throw my points. And I feel you will be very surprised. See, George Russell got 1 win. He has 1 pole. 6 podiums. He got points in every race except Monaco. Monaco, there was a mechanical failure in qualifying. If he would have qualified in top 10, easily he would have made some points there, because obviously if you're starting in top 10, you will, in all honesty, will get those points unless something bizarre happens. In quali, he got top 6 in every race except Monaco. That was mechanical failure. These are the situations that he created for himself. Qualifying is also one race. You talk about Silverstone, where he took that ownership, that all the strategy gambles he took, and it was horrible. It was shit. Still, he got some point. His qualifying record, 13-1 over Antonelli. I know Antonelli is rookie, but still, that's a very good record to have. 12-0 in race. 12-0 in head-to-head. 4th in driver standings, and very close to overtaking Max Verstappen. And there's one solid reason why he will be driving that Mercedes car in 2026 and maybe in 2027 as well. I think he deserves a 9.5. Just because of his consistency, just because he created those opportunities, just because being there at right place at right time, I feel he deserves that credit. And just because McLaren is too strong, you have to be there, man. And if McLaren, there's a one stat also. If McLaren was not there in championship, he would be leading the championship over Max Verstappen. And Mercedes is not a fast car. Mercedes is that car which is very moody and works only when there's a certain temperature range. I think that sums up whatever it was needed from Russell's side. He is doing that, and that's why he deserves that credit. If I really have to think what mistakes Russell has done, I can't think of any mistake at the moment. His mistake. That's the reason why I will give him a solid 9.5, just because of the situation he was in. He created those opportunities where obviously he qualified really well. Whatever was needed from his side, he delivered. And that's the reason why I can't find any mistake. Even if the 0.5 it could have been just because there's no amazing result or out of the box result which we didn't see from his side, and that's the reason why I'm taking that 0.5.
So guys,
That's
let
how I
us
see it.
know in your in our comment section, who do you agree with? Do you agree with cold hard statistics that he is consistent, or do you agree with the fact that despite being consistent, if you don't have to fight anyone, you don't get credit? Let us know. Do you agree with philosophy or do you agree with statistics? But let's move on to the
Let us know.
other Mercedes driver in the meantime, which is Kimi Antonelli, man. Because I'm gonna let you go ahead and have your take on Antonelli first, because I'm curious. Given that you're favoring statistics, what are your thoughts about Antonelli? Like, do you think he's strictly average, or do you think he is good?
He's good, man. There's no doubt about it. We have said it multiple times that he is the generational talent and probably the next Max Verstappen. I mean, he got one sprint pole. No one expected that to happen as well. He got one podium in Canada. And the highlight of the season for me was when he finished P4 in Australia, when he started from P16. That was just amazing, man. That was pure highlight for me. And probably the reason why everyone started talking about Antonelli, that maybe he's the driver that we have to watch out for the rest of the season. But there were some cases where he got very unlucky, and I'm not putting blame on him. It was just the car
Circumstantial.
decided to just car decided to just bang on, leave the place, and he had to go with that DNF. So I think he got like 4 DNFs, but there was one DNF in Austria, which was his mistake. Yeah, so that's one mistake, but rest of the DNF, if I have to think about, I think it was not his mistake. But still, as a rookie driver, he has been doing really well, and something that Mercedes would be pleased, because you don't expect rookie drivers to perform straight away unless they are a generational talent. Like Lewis Hamilton, we have talked about Max Verstappen, and Kimi Antonelli is showing that. So, judging with the car he had, with the tools he got, I will still probably give him an 8, because there were some races where he got DNF and he was nowhere close to be like fighting for top 6, top 7. So 8 is a very good rating. I'm not being critical. I am giving him 8, or it would have been very close to 8.5. So I will still say that compared to other rookie drivers, he has been one of the best rookie drivers, if not the best, because there can be some recency bias as well, because from last few races he's not getting those points.
So I was just referring to my notes, and in fact we are almost in agreement right now, because
finally
yeah, I think he is very much a very talented driver. Very good points you've raised. The thing is though, if we are comparing him to being the next Max Verstappen, we have to rate him at that standard. We can't rate him as a rookie, we have to compare him to a younger Max Verstappen. That is our only point of reference. Be that as it may though, I still think, as you said, he's done a great job. He is definitely... The competition is tight, man. Bortoleto and Hadjar are also great this season. So
yeah,
I'm not going to say this right away that he's the rookie of the season. We may come to regret that, because the entire second half is remaining. So, but he's definitely up there, He could be the rookie of the season. It is still possible by the end of the season we may see him pulling out some great performances. So that being said, I give him an 8.5, because he does bring in consistent points as well when the car doesn't itself. The only reason why I give him a little bit more than you is because one specific incident, which is Monaco. You can say that, if I'm not mistaken, Bortoleto was on the outside going into the tunnel section, and you can say that it was Bortoleto's right to be there. Antonelli made a mistake, but then it is that championship winning, hungry wolf mentality. It is a double-edged sword. We have seen time and again Max tries to kill other drivers just to stick an overtake. So you can't have that next Max Verstappen tag without having that kind of mentality, and that's why I think I want to favor his instincts as a driver, and as a ruthless driver no less more, and not call it out as a straight up mistake. To stick that
Yeah.
overtake in Monaco. So it's just a matter of someone else's behavior. In isolation, however, having the bravery to try to make that move earns him that favor, in my opinion, and that's why slightly more than you, but a good hard 8.5 at the very least.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, as I said, it would have been 8.5 as well from my side only. It's just very close to 8 or 8.5. So I just thought that, judging by other drivers, I thought 8 is also a very solid rating. It could have been 8.5 from my side as well. So I think there's a similar rating from our end, which is a very good side, considering we have many drivers to come.
Exactly, and Antonelli has not been a very controversial driver. That's the thing. We can have that argument of philosophy versus fact for Russell, for example. We can't have that for Antonelli, because no matter how you dissect it, he's been doing good. And the 4 DNFs he had, 3 of them were mechanical failures. Can't blame him for that. And in Austria, when he was stuck between a rock and a hard place, he was stuck in the midfield squabble. No matter how he turns there, if he brakes hard to save himself from running into one of the drivers to his left or right, he gets rear-ended and he DNFs anyway. So no matter how you break it down, he was stuck there. He was screwed from all sides. So you can't blame him a lot for that either. That's the thing.
Yeah, in all honesty, he couldn't have avoided that part in the race at least.
Exactly. So let's then move on to Racing Bulls and specifically Hadjar, because we're talking about rookies. So this is a great time to have an apples to apples if we want to compare them even. But you know what? Hadjar has consistently brought in points, and the fact that he psychologically bounced back from his DNS at Australia, the very first race he gets the chance and he bottles it because it's raining, and he was in shambles, man. But he came back so hard from that, and he's consistently been bringing points as if the opportunity has presented itself. His qualifying is above average as well, in my opinion. It is not anything special. It's not like he's dragging that Racing Bulls to Q3 every single race, but he's doing more than what his car is capable of. It is definitely above average. So that's why I feel like Hadjar also gets a strong 8.5. And in my opinion, he is in contention for rookie of the season as well. Because him and Antonelli has the tools to do what he's doing. Hadjar does not have the tools to do what he's doing. So that's why he gets extra favor from me, even though his performance is not comparable to Antonelli. He's not as good as Antonelli in terms of just cold hard facts of race finishes and qualifying appearances. The fact that he's doing that in a car that is very close to being a tractor but not fully there yet. Fine, not a tractor but a horse, maybe a farm horse. Still fast but cattle ultimately.
Yeah, I get your point. To be honest, Hadjar has been doing really well. When we talk about rookies, and you rightly pointed out, the moment where he crashed in Australia was literally heartbreaking for any Formula One fan at that moment, because rookies always want to perform from the first moment, and that was his first moment to show what he can bring to this sport. That was heartbreaking. He crashed, but after that moment, it's like a resurgence, and he has been doing so well. No matter what the politics are going on between Racing Bulls, Red Bulls, all the internal drama was going on, he was just consistent, minding his own business, showing that he will do whatever is needed. And there were moments when people thought that if Yuki Tsunoda continues to perform like this, maybe Red Bull should contact Isack Hadjar. And this is his rookie season, and he was doing really well, and that's the reason why those talks were going on. I mean, he got like 8 qualifying, 3 appearances, and his best performance, Monaco. He qualified P6, he finished P6, and credit to Liam Lawson as well for making that happen, because the two-stop strategy was something that probably was possible just because how Lawson defended in that race. So he has been doing really well. I think he got like 5 top 10 finishes as well in the main races. But in last few races, there has been some downward slope performances as well. And I don't want to ignore that part. He got 2 DNFs. If we talked about Australia, and the other one was Great Britain. And I think both were his mistakes. as much as I want to give him credit, I think both were his mistakes, where he rear-ended to Antonelli as well. It was maybe the visuals were not clear for him at that moment because it was raining heavily, but still, it was his mistake. And from last few races, he's not giving those out of the box results, and probably that's the reason why I will give him a 7.5 and not 8, which I gave to Antonelli, just because I feel some recent performances are not at that par which Hadjar was consistently doing from previously in the initial phase of the season. So I think 7.5 is still good. I won't say it's a bad rating for a rookie, and he's close to Antonelli as well. That's how I see it.
That's interesting. So then, if I'm looking at this correctly, you are half point down on Hadjar versus Antonelli, but I have rated them equally.
Yeah.
This is very interesting. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see how this shapes out towards the end of the season, because then we'll have a more solid idea about who's been the rookie of the season, right? Because I mean, there are still a lot of important races to go where you can really show your skill. Monza, Brazil, Kota, you name it, Baku. There are a lot of good races remaining still.
Absolutely, man.
Since you mentioned Lawson, let's just go ahead with that. Lawson, so
very interesting.
Exactly. So I'm gonna be honest, I'm not counting his 2 races at Red Bull at all in my rating here, because man, that's just a cursed seat, man. I don't think anyone has been able to do very well in that seat, and for that matter, of the 4 Red Bull drivers, if we remove Max, Hadjar has been the best performer. He's been better than Yuki, he's been better than Lawson. He does have more points than both of them, for crying out loud. So yeah. So Hadjar also, by the way, side drive-by point. That's why I give Hadjar an 8.5 as well. But anyway, coming back to Lawson. Dude, so as I said, I'm ignoring his Red Bull stint completely. And I think his Red Bull races shook his confidence big time. Otherwise, he would have been very good with Racing Bulls from the get-go. He was not, but he also, like Hadjar, has bounced back very well. Since Monaco, he has steadily been picking up, and as you said, the races where Hadjar did not score points, he has managed to score points. So, you know, the thing is, if he's on this trajectory, in my mind, I'm extending this trajectory for the rest of the season. Even though we are limiting our ratings to the first half, the point is that, first of all, shout out to Racing Bulls for enabling your drivers to gain that confidence after it's broken. I'm sure there is something going very right in the team culture there, unlike Red Bull, that is allowing the drivers to gain that confidence back. But yeah, so Lawson, I think he has been a little above average, and that's why I think I go with a 7.5 for Lawson, because that's all there is to it, right? There is not a lot to dissect. He was not good, and probably because of his Red Bull stint. Then he came to Racing Bulls, where he was already comfortable last year, and now he's steadily been picking up. So 7.5 is a very justified and a very reasonable and almost lenient rating, given that I'm ignoring his Red Bull stint. If we factor that in, probably 6.5 or 6, man, but not his fault. I don't want to rob him of those points unnecessary. So hard 7.5.
Fair enough. I think you went on that lenient side, because in all honesty, I don't want to ignore the Red Bull part as well. Because let's be honest, when we started the season, he was the spotlight for everyone, that why he got the favor over Yuki Tsunoda. And he had a point to prove. Obviously, he did really well, and he got that on merit as well. He was doing better than Sergio Perez at that time. So he got that on merit, and he had a point to prove. Now, I'll say it was a very harsh case where he got just 2 races to show that. But I think at that moment, everyone expected Red Bull to be close to top 5 or top 10. That was maybe the mentality, that was the headspace where everyone was thinking that, yeah, they should be doing well. But he crashed in first race. He didn't get the opportunity to show what he could have done. And second race, we saw he qualified P20 in sprint, and he qualified P20 in the main race. And that's the reason why he lost that Red Bull seat. That's I understand that, and I won't be that harsh on that. But after that, obviously, his confidence was shook, and he was not that good initially, at least, because he was creating some mistakes. He was a bit dodgy. There were moments when he was not racing fairly as well, and I think the 4 DNFs he got was all kind of his mistakes. Maybe Silverstone was one where he was just involved in that lap one incident. That could be one exception, but in all honesty, he has been there or thereabouts, at least in the first half of this or I should say first half of the mid-season. But the second half, he's really stepped up. I think Monaco was the game changer, where he did an amazing job to hold every single driver so that Hadjar could finish P6, and even he got a very solid result there. And after that, Austria was another race where he got, I think, P6, which was phenomenal. And he has been scoring points and doing an amazing job now. Right. But I still don't think that his first half of that mid-season was that good. And probably that's the reason why he will lose some points. But he's doing really well. And if he continues to perform like this, probably when we will be back for the end of the season, we will give him some, at least from my side, there will be better rating for them. But still, he is doing well, and he's very close to Hadjar on points as well. But I still see some moments where I feel he's not that consistent, and that's the reason. I think this is a harsh rating, but still, I will still say it's a 6.5, very close to 7, just because of his stint with Red Bull. If that stint was nowhere, then probably I would have given him at least a 7 or 7.5.
Right, so we are factoring in the first quarter of the season as well. I am as well, just not the Red Bull races, that's all. Yeah, I guess that is a fair take, although I do agree that it is a little bit harsh.
Yeah,
I will agree. He deserves to get a little bit of slack here as well. But let's move on to your favorite team then, because while we're on the subject of rookies, we should not ignore Alonso either. But you know what, go ahead first, because I'm sure you have hot takes here more than me.
Yeah, I guess if I have to think about the whole season, there were moments where Fernando Alonso, let's start with the beginning part. He was not consistent, and he had to, probably it was maybe because of the car as well. He DNF'd in many races. He had to wait till Spain to get those points. He was, I think, 18th or 19th in standings. But I won't say that was his fault. It was just he was unlucky in many races. Take an example of Imola, where he qualified so well. I think he was P5 where he qualified, but the strategy didn't work and he finished P11. And that radio call was very heartbreaking when he said, "I am the unluckiest driver." So that one moment I can think of. And then Monaco, where he had to shut his car off because, mechanical fault. And he was running in points as well. But after those moments, he has been doing so well. Like, recent case, P5 in Hungary, where he qualified there. So, amazing stuff. And he has been scoring so well. And there was a time when he was like 20 points behind Stroll, but now he's on same points with Stroll. So that's a perfect recovery. And I still think that the first half was not his fault. It was mostly the car which was not working in that right direction, where we also said that Mercedes engine is not reliable. And there were cases where he was not finishing the race. It could have been a much better season because we have seen the standards Alonso has set up, but he has been an amazing driver from past, I think, 21, 22 years now. So still, I think it's a 8 rating. Maybe there's a recency bias again, where Aston Martin and Alonso has stepped up, and that's the reason why I will give him an 8. And the mistakes that happened, it was just the car's fault. That's how I see it. And he was unlucky in the first half. That's how I see it. That's my take.
Forget recency bias, buddy. You have confirmation bias because you fucking love Aston Martin so much. Listen here. Baat sun bhai. If you're robbing Lawson of his points because of him being at Red Bull and not doing good at the beginning of the season, you must rob Alonso as well, because dono cases mein it was the car that was dog shit, okay? So, but if you're robbing Lawson of the points, why not rob Alonso? And in fact, rob Alonso harder because he's a much more experienced driver.
Alonso didn't finish those first two races.
Yeah.
That's the reason. It was not his fault. If car decides to shut off, then what he could have done. And if we talk about where all the positions he has finished, I think his average is 10. And not to forget how dog shit Aston Martin was. If you have a 10, and let's be honest, Kimi Antonelli's average finishing position is 8.6 in a Mercedes. Yes, he's a rookie driver, but 10 for Fernando Alonso just shows that even with that dog shit car, he has been doing so well. And the races where he didn't finish, it was not his fault, if I have to think.
No, see, I agree with you, but I want to draw your attention to many of the races where he just didn't do anything. For example, Bahrain.
Yeah.
He finished 15th.
Yeah.
He just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, if the car is shit, I get it. But then, on the other hand, Stroll did he even finish the race?
I think Stroll finished
was 17th. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, the car is shit. I have no arguments there. I absolutely get your frustration with Aston Martin for making such a horrible car. But the only reason why I don't give him an 8.5 is because I am not in love with him. Unlike
I gave him an 8. Just to clarify.
Sorry, 8.
Yeah.
So I don't give him an 8 because I'm not in love with him like you are. But I do give him a 7.5. I think 7.5 is a more reasonable rating for him. That 0.5, I have no doubt in my mind, is because you love him and Aston Martin so much. But if you were to be very, very fair, even including the engine issues and even including the fact that the car is just shit and he gets unlucky as well, the problem is that, and I can't believe I'm saying this, there were a couple of races where Stroll did better than him.
Yeah.
The car was there on some occasions, but Stroll managed to show up and Alonso didn't, and that's why I think 7.5 is a much more justifiable. Probably if I had to give him a very dissected rating, it would be closer to 7.2, but that would be too much work, so 7.5.
Yeah, I completely agree to your points as well, because there were moments when he could have done better. Obviously, now that I think Australia was his mistake where he crashed. It was not the car. If I had to really refresh my memory about that race. But I don't want to forget the part where he has qualified really well as well. Like his head-to-head record. Yes, it's Stroll, I get it. But his head-to-head record has been great during the races as well. No matter... I feel Stroll has been that opportunistic driver who took his opportunities and got those points. But anytime Alonso got those moments, he also showed that, yes, I can do an amazing job. And probably the car is now working in his favor as well. So he's getting those results, which is why I will still give him an 8 or maybe close to 7.5 as well, which is why I won't disagree. I still think it's a very close to 7.5 or 8, or maybe it's just that I have some biasness as well. So I won't discount that factor.
So then let's move on to his teammate, because I'm sure we're gonna have, to your surprise, we're gonna have opinions that match here, because I do not like to rob drivers of credit when they deserve it. Even though if I had to give him a rating just on the basis of the kind of person and the kind of driver he is throughout his entire F1 career, I would probably ask him to give me 10 points as a refund instead of giving him any points. But just on the first half of this season alone, I think he deserves decent rating. And before I reveal what that is, I want to bring to your attention and the audience's attention, more importantly, the fact that when it does rain, more often than not, he does turn into prime Ayrton Senna. The entire grid is his bitch. He travels so fast, he almost time travels into the future. He's that fast. I mean, he is nothing short of a prodigy. That being said, wet races are few and far between, and in every other race, he's a f***ing window licker. So he gets no more than 7, and also that 7 out of 10 I give him very begrudgingly. If I had it in my power, I would slap him 7 times before giving him a 7 rating. And no matter, I'd be imprisoned for assault, but that's fine. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
But 7, I think, I hold back myself from bursting into flames with anger, but 7 is well deserved.
You know what? In all honesty, even before starting this video, I never thought that we will agree to Lance Stroll rating of all the drivers we have discussed so far. Because for me, Lance Stroll is also 7. Because yes, if it was just raining and his performances would have been talked about, then I would have given him a 9. But
Bye
it's
bye.
not
Haram se.
exactly, if it was just rain races. But that's not the case. We have to take account of his qualifying performances, which has been dog shit. He was nowhere close to Fernando Alonso except in Hungary, where he really had to be there. Because if he would have qualified P16 and Alonso P5, it would have been it would have been a case where I would have given him a 6.5. But he did well, and as we discussed, when there were opportunities, he took it. And that's the reason why he's on equal points with Fernando Alonso, which is a very good side to have as someone you are fighting. Like, not to forget, Stroll's inspiration is Fernando Alonso. He has been talking about that even before he joined. And there's that perfect synergy between those two drivers as well. So,
he's doing perfect synergy or purchased synergy?
That's one way to put it, but you know how Alonso talks about Stroll. It could be because of the money.
It could be because of the dollar bills.
Yeah. Every money counts, man, and that's the reason why that synergy is there. It could be a purchase synergy as well. I like that reference, not gonna lie, but still, I think 7 is a fair rating. I think that's a good rating for Stroll as well, considering how he has been performing from many seasons.
I think the only reason why there is no ambiguity in our agreement is because I set aside my hatred to admit that he did well in the rain, and you set aside your team bias to admit that he's a moron when it's not raining.
Yeah.
And to be fair, his performance is very unambiguous. He's just consistently except if it rains.
Yeah, he's consistent in both ways.
Yeah,
let's keep it that way.
So there is not a lot of argument either of us can make here.
Yeah.
But let's finally move on to the team that is the most dreadful one. I've been avoiding it, but we have to talk about them, which is Williams. And let's start with you. Who do you want to start with? Because I think we're gonna have contrasting opinions either way. So up to you. You get to decide who do you start with.
I think it's better to start with the driver who is above, or I should say, who is the leading point scorer for Williams. I think we should start with Alex Albon, because again, if we say that car is designed as per his standard, probably that would be the case. But he has been an amazing driver for Williams. If we talk about the start, the Australia race was the highlight of the season, where I think he finished P5, if I'm not mistaken. That was an amazing race finish, and he could have finished on podium as well on that day. So when there are moments, he has performed really well. I think he has like 3 top 5 race results, in maybe one is in Miami and other is in Imola. And in all honesty, judging by the points, he is 8th in standings, and he got like 54 points, which is too much compared to his teammate who is on 16 points. So Alex Albon has done whatever it was needed from his side. Although from last few races, car didn't support him. Car was just switching off, and there were like 3 or maybe 4 races where he just DNF'd. So we didn't get that opportunity to see how well Alex Albon will perform. There was that one race where it was his mistake, I think in Spain, where he crashed into Lawson, and I think he had to change his front wing twice. That could be that one race where I can think of he didn't perform well. But I think 3 top 5 race results are something that you can't discount, even if it's a Williams. Yeah. And from last few races, it's just that they are not able to show anything. But still, the reason why Williams is still P5 in constructors, it's because of Alex Albon. And whatever contribution he has done, especially in the first half, I think he deserves an 8.5. Maybe it's a bit lenient rating, but I'm taking that part where he couldn't show that performance when he DNF'd.
Yeah, dude, in fact, I don't think it's lenient in the slightest. I think it's more than reasonable because, quite right, it is due to the first quarter of this season where Alex Albon consistently was milking points and often by outracing Ferraris.
Yeah.
More often than not, he was fighting fucking Ferraris, who are P2 in the constructors. So there is no math here that the Ferrari is a better car. But the reason why they are still not absolutely in the shits is because of Albon's performance. Because let's be honest, Aston Martin and Racing Bulls and even Sauber are all slowly catching up to Williams. They have been having much better consistent performances than Williams. So, as I agree with every single thing you said, and therefore I don't have a lot to contribute here, because not only do I agree with your rating, I would give him a 9.
Oh,
Because
that's great.
the past few races, they both have been not good. I think it's just because the upgrades have backfired. And other than that, they're also running the Mercedes engine. So the 3 DNFs I think he has are just due to some of his engine issues. And therefore, apart from Spain, where he had to change his front wing and he was just getting into messy squabbles, if I take that into consideration, it's still 9. Otherwise, it would have been a 9.5 for me. Because simply on account of the fact that the Williams was supposed to be a good car, but it showed that it was sort of not. It does have pace, but not on every track. So given that it's a very conditional car, Albon has still single-handedly managed to bring his team to P5, which is best of the rest, because usually the top 4 are the big 4, the giants of F1 themselves.
Absolutely. I think even 9 is not lenient, because if it was like, if not 8.5, I would have given him a 9 as well. I thought that 8.5 is also lenient, judging by how I have rated so far the other drivers. But in all honesty, he has out-qualified and outperformed his companion in a way. So I think he deserves that credit, and the results which he got, especially in the first quarter, sums it up why he deserves 8.5 or 9 from your end. But I think we will be having some interesting conversation here about the other driver, Carlos Sainz, and I'm really curious to hear your thoughts about his season so far, because it's a mixed season, to be honest.
It's not a mixed season in my opinion. It's very black and white for me, because no matter the fact that you mentioned that Albon is also the center of attention at Williams and the car is Albon centric, I respectfully disagree. It is Albon centric because there was no one better to give that kind of feedback to Williams. They specifically got Sainz to sort of help develop the car, because Sainz is a diligent, hard-working, experienced man. He's raced with the top teams as well. I mean, in his junior years, he was in Toro Rosso, which is a Red Bull sister team. He was with McLaren for a bit. Technically, McLaren is not. When he was there, McLaren was not a good team. It was strictly midfield, if not worse. But then the culture of a championship-winning team was still there at McLaren. And when he was at Ferrari, again, it was one of the top teams. Last year, Ferrari was third, I believe. So being in the top 3 teams as well. So they brought in Sainz because of his illustrious, hard-working nature and illustrious career, and the fact that he would be the right person to help develop the car and give feedback, and lastly, being the person who is experienced enough to, instead of gamble with other rookies, bring the guy who's experienced to consistently bring in double points. That was Williams' strategy, and that has not been happening. We cut him a lot of slack because he needs to get adjusted to the car, but if your argument, or therefore if my argument, is that we're bringing in Sainz into Williams because he's capable of doing better than a rookie, it does not show. In this place, in his exact same position, if there was some rookie instead of Sainz, let's say there was Jack Doohan in Williams instead of Sainz, I think we would have similar finishes. Bottom 10, bottom 5 is where we are seeing Sainz more often than not. So you may call me harsh or you may call me very justified depending on how you see this, but I give him a 6 on 10.
Maybe.
I don't think he deserves more than that. Because your whole sales pitch for bringing Sainz into Williams was that he can do better than rookies. He's more experienced than Albon, in fact.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't think he gets anything more than 6, and if that, even that is a little bit lenient.
Oh boy. Yeah, in all honesty, this is not the season that Carlos Sainz even hoped for, because he wanted to bring some experience and do at least be close to Alex Albon, if not do better than him. Well, in all honesty, he did show some flashes as well, because I think he was in Q3 I think 5 times, and he qualified like P6 in 3 races in Saudi, Imola and Spain. Those were like all 3 races on trot, and he qualified P6, but the best result was his P8. That's not a good result, in all honesty, when we are saying Alex Albon got top 5 in 3 races. That's just 30 points in those 3 races, and Carlos Sainz just 16 points and 16th in standings. And you need both drivers to perform. Although Sainz has been in points in like I think 5 or 6 races at least, but those were like very minimal points. When you are like P10, P9 or P8, you get those points and can show that fine, I'm doing my part. But the best result I think was in sprint, where he finished I think P6 in Belgium. I have to be honest, and maybe this is a lenient rating slightly, but still it's a 6.5 from my end as well, because there were some moments where he could have done better. Maybe the support from his car was not there, because he was also unlucky with some DNFs as well, and that's the reason why I'm saying 6.5. But he could have done so much better. He could have been the driver which Williams really needed, and maybe they could have cemented P5 by now and could have focused on 2026. But this is the scenario they are in, where they have to focus on this car if they really want P5.
See, the thing is, if we just consider Albon's top 5 finishes, the 3 top 5 finishes that he has, top 6 finishes, whatever, and the 30 points that he got there, that alone means as of this Hungarian Grand Prix, which is the 14th race, just as of that, he has an average of 2 points per race.
Yeah.
Little more, minusculely more than 2 points just off of those performances. I'm sure if we tally up, it is closer to 2.5 points per race for Albon. But I don't think we can say the same for Sainz, right? Sainz has how many points? I don't know. Sainz does not have enough points to even average out to 1.5 points per race. And even when he goes racing with Ferrari, on a couple of occasions he went racing with Ferrari for 8th or 9th. The Ferraris just got a better of him because he was getting too desperate and impatient. And we don't expect that from Sainz. Sainz is the guy who gives Lando DRS for 7 or 8 laps to make sure the Mercedes don't end up winning with a 1-2, to the extent that fighting with Lando causes Russell to find the gap at Singapore. I'll put that clip here now. But yeah, I think 6.5 is lenient. You could argue 6 is harsh, but then that would just mean it's still a 6.2. On an average.
more or less.
And that is still fair. And with that, we bring this part 1 of our mid-season's drivers ratings to an end. Please pause the video here to have a look at our final ratings tally. That's it from our side. Stay tuned for part 2.
But do stick with us, because we have another 11 drivers to cover up, and 14 races down, we are grading the whole grid. So let us know who impressed you the most, who has been the biggest letdown, and do share your predictions about the other 11 drivers as well. But if you really enjoyed this video, please drop a like if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, and like always, when the drama hits, we are waving the red flag. Goodbye.